And yes, consume stories responsibly. Responsibly. Don't, don't just have to watch it because it's new. I gotta know what it's like so I can know if it's bad. Or like the thousands of other YouTube channels. I'm watching it so you guys don't have to. Okay, I'm watching it so you guys don't have to. What do these people think? Do these YouTubers really, truly, honestly think that people hearing them talk about this show or this movie, whatever it might be, and just talk smack about it, that they're really going to say, man, glad I didn't watch that? Because no, if they're tuning in to hear the trash talk about it, then they themselves are into that. They want they get off on the trash talk. That means that they're going to hear you say, oh, you know what? It sounds so bad. I kind of want to watch it just to see how bad it is. And they do. They do.
And this is just me kind of explaining like how counterproductive it is to go all in against something you hate. Their reaction was like, Kevin, this is amazing for the show. But I do know this much. Based on what I was told by the people that like pay my salary, that doesn't matter to them. Like they literally don't.
You know, we've already many times on my channel, I've put to bed the stupid argument. You can't judge it till you watch it. No, you can't. Yes, you can. They put out the whole synopsis, and I've received stupid comments on my channels, on my videos on the channel. Not even just talking about He-Man, but talking about say the Marvel movies or whatever. If you're not missing it, you know, this was one of the ones that when the Mandalorian. If you're not missing it, you're missing the meta narrative. You can't just read the synopsis. You can't just read you're missing the meta narrative, or you're missing the nuances. And I asked some people, I was like, specifically, what do you mean by nuance? And they can't really answer me. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm missing the nuances. I'm missing the music, the soundtrack, and the order of the events and how the acting. And so I'm missing being emotionally manipulated into accepting story details that I already logically think are a deal breaker. You hear how that argument is? No, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to see the meta narrative or the nuances or anything like that. If the synopsis is a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker. No amount of acting or anything like that's going to fix that. So just enough with that stupid argument. But a lot of YouTubers are going to be talking about this series. They're going to be doing reviews of the first episode. They're going to be doing reviews of the second or the whole thing. And people who, you know, some of them are going to be shills and totally, you know, yay, woke Tila, woohoo, you know. But some of them are going to be seemingly on our side, right? Seemingly calling out the nonsense. The problem is this doesn't work. Calling out the nonsense doesn't tell them not to make more of it. It doesn't. It tells them that their show is culturally relevant. It tells them that, wow, they got that many watching on the first day of release. Wow, those numbers on Netflix. And then even the people who say, no, I pirated it. First of all, did you really pirate it? That's suspect anyway. If you really wanted to watch it, you had to watch it. You know, how much, you know, are you really going to take the trouble with that? But even if you did, you're still talking about it. You're either making your videos talking about the specifics, reviewing the show, or you're going on other people's channels and like, oh, tell me about how bad it is. Okay, yeah, that's horrible. That's so stupid. And, you know, you guys have probably been on several streams already today, which, you know, reviewed it and talked about how silly it was. And you know, you got your little dopamine hits from getting into that. No, the problem is that makes it culturally relevant. And let me just prove to you. Now, is it possible? Again, is it possible that Netflix might see this kind of loud, you know, reaction against it and say, okay, no more, no season 2? Anything's possible. As I said, it's possible I could win the lottery. It's possible I could inherit a ton of money tomorrow. Anything's possible, but it's not probable. It's not probable at all, because look at how Hollywood, not just one company, but how Hollywood has operated specifically regarding these aspirational heroes. Because as I've said, people, the culture today, certainly the woke ideologues, but even other aspects of our culture who just kind of bend towards nihilism and tend towards it left and right, are trying to systematically deconstruct our precious few aspirational heroes we have. They've done it with Superman. They've done it with Luke Skywalker. Now they're doing it with He-Man. So let's look at those examples that I just talked about. You know, it's kind of like the old Dan DiDio mentality. It's stupid, right? I agree with you. It's dumb. They should see people unhappy with their product and say, okay, we won't give you any more of that. We'll go do this instead. It's not what they do. They either on one level say, look at those numbers, it doesn't matter to them if people are watching it and then griping about it afterwards. If you watched it, if your numbers were up, the people who, they do the bean counting for these studios, they don't think logically. They think in a whole different set of numbers and demographics. They don't think logically. So they could just very well see this as a win, big win. Hey, some people are arguing about it. Oh, well, people are talking about it. It's relevant. Let's definitely green light season 2 of that. Or they'll do this. If it got so bad to where the studio simply could not deny that the public simply did not want this approach to He-Man. Let's look at how that played out for our other aspirational heroes. Superman. Warner Brothers just flat out ignored the outcry after Man of Steel. Just flat out ignored it. Doubled down with it. So it's okay. We'll just throw Batman in the mix, and we'll force you to shut up and like it. That's what they did. Now, after Batman v Superman, they couldn't deny it. Then it was absolutely just a hard wall. They realized, and the executives truly did realize, you can read about this, they realized, oh my gosh, we put all of our eggs in this basket. Damage to the franchise, damage to the brand. They were very upset and very worried, very concerned. Did they say, okay, no more? No more from this universe? No more from this telling? We're going to reboot it. We're going to do something different. We're just going to go deal with some other characters? No. Zack Snyder went ahead and started his Justice League movie the next week. Zack Snyder, the same person. Now you might argue, well, I mean, they had already kind of set him up. Well, that was stupid anyway, so that's not a defense. But they, what were they going to do? Pull the plug? Well, yeah, they should have. I still maintain they would have earned a lot more money or saved a lot of their money having pulled the plug, even losing what money that was, and going forward in a different way with different films that actually do make money. Because what's the result? What's the result? The DC universe is nothing but a lame duck. It's a gamble if you're going to get something that's going to make money or not. The Wonder Woman movie was just throwing stuff against the wall. Somehow people seemed to like, it wasn't Wonder Woman at all, but somehow, it was financially viable. People seemed to like that, but they couldn't replicate it in part 2 because they have no basis. They never established a basis with the core of those films to work from and to establish the characters in. Same thing with Aquaman. Somehow it worked. Did we ever get it too? And that wasn't the Aquaman of the comics either, because it was just sort of, we're just kind of making this stuff up as we go along. That's where they are. Yeah, they should have canceled Justice League right away, but they didn't. They kept going with it. And this is what they said. Well, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. We'll bring in Joss Whedon, and we're going to bring in Jeff Johns, and we'll fix it. We'll fix it going forward. So come on back and watch it. It's going to be these same characters, and they've done these things that are absolute deal breakers for you, but we're going to do it differently now in the further stories. And idiots everywhere just go, oh, I'll give that a chance. Yeah, why? You see, when we saw what it was the horrible, ridiculous Frankenstein hodgepodge that didn't make any sense. That was Joss Whedon's Justice League, and you still have simpletons out there who think the Zack Snyder cut somehow fixed that. No, it didn't. It just showed why you needed a Whedon cut. If you were going to go that far into it anyway. All right, so they didn't in the Superman case. They didn't say, we need to stop that. We need to stop our plans going forward. They just said, we'll do it differently in the season 2 or the next movie. Luke Skywalker. When Rian Johnson put out Last Jedi, he specifically, purposefully, knowing what he was doing on every level, wanted to utterly take apart and deconstruct your notion of Luke Skywalker as an aspirational hero. He wanted just to completely demolish that in your mind. People were outraged. This is horrible. What are you doing? Did Disney say, all right, we just got to kind of retcon that and pretend that didn't happen, at least make it a dream or whatever? Did they say they're done with these movies? Did they say they were stopping? No, they said, come on back to the third movie. We'll kind of do it differently. Was Rise of Skywalker truly worth that? Was Rise of Skywalker? Now, and so this, my argument is, Netflix, all of you who are, flocking to your streams, with the reviews and saying, oh my gosh, that's so stupid, blah, 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 or you're leaving your Rotten Tomatoes bad reviews or whatever. You're telling them it's relevant. You're not telling them not to make any more of it. You're telling them, you got my numbers watching it. You're telling them, greenlit season 2, greenlight it, because I'll be there. I'll be there to watch that too, and then go to the YouTube fat channels and talk about how bad it is. And you're on board. You're on board. You are part of the problem because you're so weak-willed. You just can't not watch it because I just got to know what people are talking about. You don't like He-Man then. You just like being in the know. You like this current nonsense. That's all it is. Imagine if, and I know this is a long shot because you've got Disney, big, huge company, a real reputation on the line. Kathleen Kennedy, who just put every bit of her pride up there with this sequel trilogy. But imagine if people simply walked away. Not walked away from the theater, because they did do that in terms of Solo numbers. When Solo numbers came out, that's kind of what made Disney realize, oh my gosh, we got to do something different and drastic here. But imagine if they didn't even talk about it. Imagine if they just, we're not reviewing it. We're not doing anything. We're just, Star Wars is dead. We're moving on. They would have rolled over to do anything they possibly could to get people to still believe in their franchise and their property. If that meant stopping a trilogy midway through and rebooting it, or doing something drastic. I mean, you can force them to do certain things, but you can't because you're not strong-willed enough. And I'm saying the proverbial you. I know many of you here in the chat do feel the same way I do about this kind of thing, but the proverbial you, people just can't. They must consume. You know, as I said before, must consume it, because even if I don't like it, I get to talk about how much I didn't like it, and that's fun, and I get to hear my favorite YouTubers rip it into shreds, and that's fun. And no, you're just part of, you're making it relevant. You're telling them, make more of it. I will be there no matter what. That's what you're doing.